I grew up in a tiny Montana town not far from the Idaho border. Nothing interesting ever really happens there. Honestly, that's part of why I stayed. This happened years ago, long before smartphones and social media completely took over everything. Back then, news traveled slowly out there, and people mostly kept to themselves. It was late August, right at the end of summer. You could already feel the colder air starting to creep in during the mornings. I was driving my normal route to work when I spotted a light blue sedan parked along the shoulder of the highway. It looked abandoned. No hazard lights. No driver. No movement. The car was angled awkwardly toward the ditch like somebody had pulled over in a hurry. As I drove past, I slowed down enough to look inside. Nobody. I considered stopping, but people broke down out there all the time. I figured whoever owned the car had probably walked to a nearby farmhouse for help. So I kept driving. By the end of the day, I'd almost forgotten about it. Until I drove home. The car was still there. Only now the driver's side door was hanging open. I know for a fact it hadn't been open earlier. That instantly changed the feeling of the situation. I slowed down again, scanning the fields nearby for anybody walking around, but the area was completely empty. No movement. No footprints. Nothing. Once I finally got service again, I called the non-emergency police line and reported it. The operator thanked me and said somebody would check it out. The next morning, the car was gone. That should have been the end of it. About a week later, though, I saw a news report about a missing man whose abandoned vehicle had been found along a rural highway outside town. It was the same car. The report claimed investigators found no evidence of foul play. I didn't fully buy that. Something about the whole situation felt wrong. I couldn't stop thinking about it. Eventually, I called my younger brother, Nathan. He worked as a firefighter in a nearby county, and emergency departments around there usually shared information with each other. Nathan confirmed that local law enforcement had circulated information about the missing person. Apparently, they were organizing a volunteer search. For some reason, I became weirdly invested in helping. Maybe because I'd seen the car myself. Maybe because I felt like I'd witnessed the beginning of something terrible. A few days later, Nathan managed to get me included with one of the search groups. We searched fields, irrigation ditches, and wooded areas surrounding the highway. The terrain looked harmless from the road, but once you were walking through it, it became obvious how easy it would be for someone to disappear. After about an hour, one group radioed that they'd found a structure hidden in the brush. Everybody headed toward them. Buried beneath weeds and overgrowth was an old maintenance shack. It looked abandoned. Half sunk into the earth. From the road, you'd never know it existed. The door was partially open. The lock had been broken. Inside, the air smelled damp and stale. At first, it just looked like an old storage building. But then we started noticing signs somebody had been staying there. Empty water bottles. Food wrappers. Discarded clothing. One of the firefighters called us over after spotting damage along the back wall. There was a clean hole punched through one of the wooden boards. It looked exactly like a bullet hole. The edges were sharp and splintered. Not weather damage. Not rot. A bullet. The officers immediately became more serious. Everyone started searching the area for shell casings, blood, or literally anything else. But there was nothing. Just that single hole. Eventually, the lead officer told everyone except law enforcement to leave. That included the firefighters. Something about his tone made it clear the situation had escalated. Later that night, I called Nathan for answers. But he barely told me anything. All he admitted was that the police had forced everyone out shortly after I left. After that, information completely dried up. The local news stopped mentioning the missing man. Nobody talked about the shack. Weeks passed. Eventually, curiosity got the better of me. I drove back out there alone. I was positive I remembered where the shack was. But after hours of searching, I couldn't find it. Not even a trace. No structure. No foundation. Nothing. It genuinely messed with my head. The terrain looked identical. Same ditches. Same hills. Same trees. But the shack was gone. The only explanation I could come up with was that somebody had removed it entirely. Still, that felt insane. Why would authorities erase an entire structure over a missing person case? To this day, I still don't know what really happened. Every time summer starts ending and the air turns cold again, I think about that abandoned sedan and that hidden shack sitting in the middle of nowhere. And honestly, part of me still believes we stumbled onto something we were never supposed to find.